The Vexcar High Council chambers fell silent as Supreme Commander Zarkatha's hologram flickered into view. His scaled face bore fresh scars, evidence of yet another failed attempt to subjugate the dreaded Voidstalkers. These massive space-dwelling creatures had terrorized civilized systems for millennia, destroying ships and stations with impunity. The mission was a complete failure, Zarkath reported, his voice heavy with defeat. We lost 3 battlecruisers and their entire crews. These beasts cannot be controlled or killed. They are simply too powerful. First Speaker Vertex leaned forward, her crystalline eyes reflecting the dim light. Then we must find another solution. The trading routes through the Centauri sector are vital to our economy. We cannot allow these creatures to disrupt them any longer. As if on cue, a junior communications officer burst into the chamber, mandibles clicking with excitement. Speakers, we've detected an unknown species entering Voidstalker territory. They're ships. They're approaching the creatures directly. The council watched in stunned silence as the feed showed small vessels, primitive by Vexcar standards, moving purposefully toward a cluster of Voidstalkers. The massive beasts, each larger than a Vexcar dreadnought, turned their attention to the newcomers. Foolish primitives, Second Speaker Kexnar sneered. They'll be destroyed in seconds. But destruction didn't come. Instead, the council watched in growing disbelief as the small ships maneuvered gracefully between the Voidstalkers, showing no fear. More incredibly, the normally aggressive creatures seemed almost curious. What manner of species is this? Vertex demanded. They call themselves humans, First Speaker, the communications officer replied. They've recently achieved FTL capability and have been exploring this sector. Our preliminary scans indicate they're from a planet called Earth. As the council watched, something unprecedented occurred. A human vessel extended what appeared to be a specialized docking tube toward one of the Voidstalkers. Instead of attacking, the creature allowed the connection. Impossible, Zarkath exclaimed. In 10,000 years of space travel, no species has ever made physical contact with a Voidstalker and survived. The feed zoomed in, showing a human in an environmental suit emerging from the tube. The being moved slowly, deliberately, approaching the Voidstalker's neural cluster, the closest thing the creatures had to a head. The human extended a hand, touching the beast's bioluminescent skin. The council chamber erupted in chaos. This defied everything they knew about the galaxy's most feared creatures. The Voidstalkers had resisted every attempt at communication, control, or destruction. Yet here was a primitive species, barely out of their gravity well, making first contact as if greeting a curious pet. There's more, the communications officer added. We're detecting similar incidents across the sector. Human ships are approaching other space-dwelling megafauna, stellar leviathans, quantum WIRMS, even the dreaded dark matter behemoths. In every case, the creatures are responding non-aggressively. Vertex's crystalline eyes narrowed. This changes everything. These humans possess an ability we've sought for generations. The question is, are they potential allies or a threat to Vexcar dominion? The council watched as more humans emerged from their ships, each approaching different Voidstalkers with the same fearless grace. The creatures, which had terrorized the space lanes for so long, now moved in harmony with the tiny beings that had somehow earned their trust. Perhaps, Zarkath suggested, his voice thoughtful, we should arrange a diplomatic meeting with these humans. Learn their secrets. Agreed, Vertex declared. But proceed with caution. Any species that can tame the untamable is not to be underestimated. These humans may appear primitive, but they clearly possess capabilities we do not understand. As the council session ended, none of them could have predicted how this discovery would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The age of Vexcar dominance was about to be challenged by a species that saw beauty and potential where others saw only monsters. The humans, meanwhile, continued their work, blissfully unaware of the political storms they were stirring. To them, the space-dwelling megafauna weren't monsters to be feared or weapons to be controlled. They were magnificent creatures to be understood, respected, and befriended. This fundamental difference in perspective would soon transform the galaxy in ways no one could have imagined. Dr. Sarachin stood in the observation deck of the research vessel, Horizon, watching as her team prepared for another interaction session with the Void Stalkers. 3 years had passed since humanity's first contact with the space-dwelling megafauna, and they were still discovering new aspects of these magnificent creatures every day. Neural link established with Subject Delta, her assistant Mike reported, monitoring the complex array of biosensors. Brainwave synchronization at 89% and holding steady. Through the reinforced viewport, Sarah observed Jessica Torres, their lead xenobiologist, as she floated in space near a particularly massive void stalker. The creature's bioluminescent patterns shifted in gentle waves, mirroring Jessica's calm mental state. The neural link they'd developed allowed humans to share emotions and basic thoughts with the space-dwelling beings, though it had taken months of careful research to perfect the technology. They were never aggressive, Sarah muttered, making notes on her tablet. They were just lonely, trying to communicate with species that couldn't hear them. A proximity alert chimed, and Sarah's heart sank as she recognized the angular design of an approaching Vex-Car diplomatic vessel. The aliens had been increasingly interested in their research, though their motives remained suspect. Ambassador Kextal requests permission to observe today's session, Mike announced, reading the incoming transmission. Sarah sighed. Granted. But remind them, no attempts to interface with the Void Stalkers directly. Last time they tried, we nearly lost 2 researchers calming the creatures down. The Vex-Car ship docked, and Ambassador Kextal emerged with his entourage. Their scaled forms towered over the human crew, but Sarah had long since learned not to be intimidated by their size. Dr. Chin, Kextal greeted, mandibles clicking in what she'd learned was a sign of respect. Your progress with these beings continues to fascinate our scientists. Though I must admit, we still struggle to understand your methods. Sarah led them to the observation area, where Jessica was now guiding the Void Stalker through a series of movement exercises. The creature's massive form moved with surprising grace, its natural quantum field drives adjusting to match her suggestions. The key was approaching them with empathy, Sarah explained. Your people tried to dominate them, to bend them to your will. We simply offered friendship. Kextal's crystalline eyes narrowed. Friendship? With beings that destroyed entire fleets? That consumed space stations? Those were defensive reactions, Sarah countered. Think about it. How would you respond if someone entered your home and immediately tried to chain you up or kill you? Before Kextal could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Mike's voice came through urgent and sharp, multiple vessels dropping out of FTL. Vex-Car military signatures. Sarah whirled on Kextal. What is this? The ambassador seemed genuinely surprised. This isn't authorized. I don't dash. His words were cut off as Supreme Commander Zarkatha's hologram materialized in the center of the observation deck. Dr. Chin, Ambassador. My apologies for the dramatic entrance, but we've grown tired of waiting. The High Council has ordered the acquisition of human-beast taming technology, by force if necessary. Sarah's mind raced. She knew this day might come, but she'd hoped diplomacy would prevail. Commander, you don't understand. There is no technology to steal. What we do is based on mutual trust and respect. A pleasant fiction, Zarkath sneered. Our sensors have detected the neural interface devices. Once we acquire them, we'll finally have control of these creatures. Through the viewport, Sarah could see Vex-Car boarding pods attempting to attach to their research vessel. But she wasn't worried. She pressed a small button on her wrist device, sending a prearranged signal. Commander, she said calmly, I should warn you. The Void Stalkers aren't our technology. They're our friends. And they're very protective of their friends. As if on cue, the space around the research vessel lit up with bioluminescent patterns, dozens of Void Stalkers emerging from quantum space. They moved with purpose, positioning themselves between the human vessel and the Vex-Car fleet. Last chance, Commander, Sarah offered. Withdraw your forces, and we can continue peaceful research collaboration. Zarkatha's hologram flickered with rage. Open fire. Subdue those beasts. The Vex-Car ships launched a barrage of quantum torpedoes. But the Void Stalkers were ready. Their natural quantum fields absorbed the attacks, and then they responded. Not with blind aggression, but with coordinated, precise movements that Sarah's team had helped them develop. Within minutes, the Vexcar fleet was in chaos. The Void Stalkers hadn't destroyed a single ship, but they disabled engines, weapons, and shield systems with surgical precision. The message was clear: they could have annihilated the fleet, but chose not to. Impossible, Kextal whispered, watching his species' mighty warships rendered helpless by creatures they'd spent millennia failing to control. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Not impossible, Ambassador. Just a different approach. Now, shall we discuss a real diplomatic solution? One that respects all species involved, including our large friends out there. The emergency lights cast a red glow across the bridge of the Earth research vessel, Horizon, as Captain James Chin reviewed the incoming reports. In the month since the failed Vexcar attack, a shadow war had erupted across the galaxy. Rogue Vexcar military elements, refusing to accept the High Council's calls for peace, had begun targeting both human research stations and their space-dwelling allies. Another quantum WIRM pod attacked in the Carina sector, Lieutenant Park reported, her face grim. Third one this week. They're using some kind of quantum resonance weapon. Doesn't kill them, but causes enough pain to drive them into a frenzy. James clenched his fists. The Vexcar Splinter faction, led by the now disgraced Supreme Commander Zarkath, had discovered they couldn't control the creatures, but they could hurt them enough to weaponize their pain. Any casualties? He asked, already dreading the answer. 2 civilian transports caught in the crossfire. The WRMS didn't mean to attack them, they were just trying to escape the pain. The quantum comm crackled to life, displaying Dr. Sarah Chen's hologram. His sister's usually calm features were tight with concern. James, we've confirmed what we suspected. These attacks aren't random. They're herding the megafauna into specific regions of space. A trap? Worse. They're forcing different species into conflict with each other, setting up situations where the creatures have no choice but to fight. Our latest intel suggests they're studying these battles, looking for weaknesses they can exploit. A deep, resonant sensation touched James's mind, the equivalent of a gentle nudge from Thunder, the Void Stalker who had become his personal companion over the past year. The massive creature floated alongside the horizon, its bioluminescent patterns shifting with concern. Through their neural link, Thunder shared images of other space-dwelling beings in distress. The creatures might be physically powerful, but they were fundamentally peaceful. Being forced into violence against their own kind was causing them profound psychological trauma. We need to end this, James declared. Not just stop individual attacks, but shut down Zarkatha's entire operation. Thunder says the megafauna are willing to help, but they need our guidance to coordinate effectively. Sarah's hologram nodded. I've been working with the Vexcar High Council. They've officially branded Zarkatha's faction as terrorists and authorized joint human-Vexcar military action against them. But James, we've tracked their main base. It's in the Maelstrom. James felt Thunder's immediate reaction, a mix of fear and resolve. The Maelstrom was a massive quantum storm, a swirling vortex of space-time distortions that no ship had ever successfully navigated. Even the space-dwelling megafauna avoided it. That's why they chose it, James realized. They know we can't reach them there. Not without attempting something unprecedented, Sarah finished. We'd need perfect coordination between multiple species of megafauna, working in harmony with our ships. One mistake in that quantum soup and we'd be torn apart. Thunder's presence in James's mind intensified. Images flowed between them, memories of their first meeting, the trust they'd built, the battles they'd faced together. Then came something new, a vision of multiple Void Stalkers linking their quantum fields, creating safe passages through the storm, while quantum WRMS used their natural abilities to stabilize the corridors. It's not impossible, James said slowly. Thunder thinks they can do it. But they need us, all of us, working together. Human, Vexcar, and every species of space megafauna, perfectly coordinated. The largest multi-species cooperative effort in galactic history, Sarah mused. Even the High Council's hardliners would have to admit that these creatures are sentient beings after that. James felt Thunder's agreement rumble through their link. The creature had seen enough death, enough suffering. It was time to show the galaxy what was possible when different species chose to work together rather than dominate each other. "Spread the word," he ordered. "I want every human-beast whisperer mobilized within 48 hours. Tell the High Council to have their forces ready. We're going to end this, not through superior firepower, but through cooperation their militaristic minds can't even comprehend." The edge of the maelstrom loomed before them, a writhing mass of quantum distortions that twisted the very fabric of space-time. Captain James Chin stood on the bridge of the horizon, surrounded by holographic displays showing the positions of their unprecedented fleet, human ships, Bexcar cruisers, and hundreds of space-dwelling beings working in perfect harmony. Through his neural link, Thunder shared the collective anxiety of the gathered megafauna. None of them had ventured this close to the maelstrom before, but their determination outweighed their fear. The suffering of their kin had to end. "All beast whisperers report ready," Lieutenant Park announced. "Neural synchronization at optimal levels." Sarah's voice came through the quantum comm. "The quantum WRMS are in position. They'll stabilize the corridor once the Void Stalkers create it." "James, are you sure about this?" He felt Thunder's reassurance flow through their link. "We're sure. Begin the sequence." The space around them erupted in synchronized bioluminescence as 30 Void Stalkers moved into formation. Their massive forms arranged themselves in a complex three-dimensional pattern that James and Thunder had spent weeks calculating. As one, they activated their quantum fields. Reality itself seemed to bend as the creature's natural abilities interacted with the maelstrom's chaos. A tunnel of relatively stable spacetime began to form, though its edges flickered dangerously. "Quantum WRMS, you're up," James commanded. The serpentine forms of the WRMS glided forward, their bodies crackling with energy. They positioned themselves along the tunnel's length, using their innate ability to manipulate quantum fields to reinforce the structure. "Remarkable," came Ambassador Kexdal's voice from the lead Vexcar vessel. "In all our attempts to control these beings, we never imagined they could achieve something like this voluntarily." "That was always your mistake," James replied as he guided the horizon into the tunnel. "You saw them as weapons to be controlled. We saw them as allies to be trusted." The journey through the maelstrom was like nothing James had ever experienced. Outside their protected corridor, reality itself twisted and warped. Time moved strangely. Sensors showed some moments stretching for hours while others passed in milliseconds. But the combined efforts of humans, Void Stalkers, and quantum WRMS maintained their safe passage. Other megafauna species contributed their unique abilities, stellar leviathans using their massive bodies to shield the fleet from radiation bursts, dark matter behemoths absorbing dangerous energy spikes that threatened their corridor. Finally, after what felt like both an eternity and an instant, they emerged into a relatively calm region at the maelstrom's heart. There, nestled in the eye of the quantum storm, sat Zarkatha's base, a massive station bristling with weapons. By the first speaker, Kextal breathed. The resources he must have stolen to build this. Multiple signatures detected, Park reported. They're launching fighters. But James and Thunder had anticipated this. At their signal, a swarm of smaller space-dwelling creatures, beings the size of Earth whales that humans had dubbed void dancers, emerged from quantum space. They flowed around the enemy fighters with impossible grace, their natural shields absorbing weapons fire while they disabled the hostile craft with precise electromagnetic pulses. "Zarkath," James broadcast on all frequencies. "Your operation ends today. Surrender, and you'll be granted a fair trial by the High Council." The former Supreme Commander's response came in the form of a massive energy burst from the station's main weapon. But the shot never reached its target. A dozen Void Stalkers, led by Thunder, moved in perfect synchronization, their quantum fields redirecting the energy safely into the maelstrom. "You still don't understand," James transmitted. "We're not here to destroy you. We're here to show you a better way." As if to emphasize his point, the space-dwelling megafauna began a coordinated demonstration of their true power, not as weapons, but as conscious beings working together. Void Stalkers created quantum field networks that neutralized the station's shields. Quantum WRMS disabled its engines with surgical precision. Dark matter behemoths absorbed its weapon energy, while stellar leviathans used controlled gravitational fields to hold it in place. Within minutes, Zarkatha's supposedly impregnable fortress was completely neutralized, without a single life lost on either side. 6 months after the Maelstrom operation, humanity's relationship with the space-dwelling beings entered a new phase. In a converted asteroid base near Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen monitored unprecedented changes in both human and megafauna physiology. Neural sync at 100%, the computer announced as Sarah observed Jessica Torres and her void stalker partner, Nova, through reinforced windows. The massive creature's bioluminescent patterns had begun matching Jessica's brainwave patterns exactly, creating mesmerizing displays that rippled across its form. But the real breakthrough was happening at the cellular level. Quantum field integration continuing to stabilize, Sarah noted, studying the holographic readouts. Human neural architecture adapting to process quantum information directly. The long-term neural links between humans and space megafauna were causing evolutionary changes in both species. Humans were developing natural quantum field sensitivity, while their beast partners were gaining more precise control over their abilities. Ambassador Kextal, now a permanent liaison to the human research team, clicked his mandibles in amazement. If my ancestors could see this, beings we tried to cage for millennia, voluntarily sharing their gifts with another species. Sarah's own partner, a young quantum WRM named Aurora, coiled through quantum space near the station. Through their strengthening bond, Sarah felt Aurora's excitement about these developments. The space-dwelling beings had long sought others who could truly understand them. Now, that dream was becoming reality. There's more, Sarah said, pulling up new data. The quantum field adaptations are affecting human longevity. Our cellular decay rates are decreasing to match our partners. We're not just communicating with them anymore, we're evolving together. The implications were staggering. Humanity had stumbled upon not just interspecies cooperation, but guided evolution. The space-dwelling beings were helping humans adapt to life among the stars, while humans helped them develop finer control over their immense powers. A sharp alert interrupted their observations. Lieutenant Park's hologram materialized, her expression urgent. Dr. Chin, ambassador, were detecting massive quantum disturbances in the Carina sector. It's like nothing we've seen before. The sensor feeds showed a swirling vortex of energy, larger than any natural phenomenon. But through her link with Aurora, Sarah sensed something else: purpose, intention, and a profound sense of arrival. "They're coming," she whispered. "Who?" Kextal demanded. "The ancients. The original space-dwelling megafauna. The ones our partners descended from. They've been watching us, waiting to see if we could achieve true symbiosis. And now?" As if confirming her words, enormous shapes began emerging from the vortex. Creatures that dwarfed even the largest known void stalkers, their bodies seeming to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Their quantum fields radiated power that the sensors couldn't even measure. But they didn't inspire fear. Through the neural network that now connected all human beast whisperers, Sarah felt their approval, their joy at finding worthy partners for their children. The ancients had seeded the galaxy with their offspring, hoping they would find species capable of helping them reach their full potential. Humanity, through its capacity for empathy and cooperation rather than dominance, had proven itself worthy of this cosmic legacy. The ancients were here not to judge, but to teach, to share knowledge accumulated over millions of years of quantum evolution. "Send word to Earth and the High Council," Sarah instructed, feeling Aurora's excitement surge through their bond. A new age of exploration and discovery is about to begin. A decade after the arrival of the ancients, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. The massive observation deck of Harmony Station, a joint human-Bexcar construction floating at the galaxy's core, offered Captain James Chin an unparalleled view of this new era. Streams of quantum energy flowed between stars like cosmic rivers, created by space-dwelling megafauna working in concert with their human partners. These quantum corridors had revolutionized travel and communication, connecting civilizations that once thought themselves forever isolated. Thunder, now nearly twice his original size due to the evolutionary changes of the past decade, floated serenely beside the station. Their neural link had deepened to the point where they functioned as a single consciousness, yet retained their individual identities. "The Andromeda Initiative is ready," Sarah announced, entering the observation deck with Ambassador Kextal. Her own form shimmered slightly, a side effect of the advanced quantum integration that all human beast whisperers now exhibited. James nodded, feeling Thunder's excitement ripple through their bond. The first intergalactic exploration mission was about to launch, combining the most advanced technology of multiple species with the natural abilities of the space-dwelling beings. "The ancients have confirmed it," Sarah continued. "Other galaxies have their own megafauna species. Different evolutionarily, but similar in potential. They've been waiting for contact, just as our partners waited for us." Through the quantum network that now connected all partnered species, James sensed the gathering fleet. Void stalkers, quantum WIRMs, stellar leviathans, and dark matter behemoths moved into formation around their human and Vexcar allies. The ancients themselves, their massive forms rippling with dimensional energy, took up positions to guide the journey. "Did you ever imagine this?" Kextal asked, his crystalline eyes reflecting the spectacular view. "When your species first encountered the creatures we feared for millennia?" James smiled, remembering those early days. "We imagined partnership, cooperation. But this," he gestured at the transformed galaxy around them. "This surpassed even our wildest dreams." The quantum network hummed with shared purpose as the fleet prepared for departure. Human consciousness, enhanced by years of symbiotic evolution, merged seamlessly with the space-dwelling being's natural quantum awareness. Vexcar technology, once designed for dominance, now served to strengthen and stabilize these connections. "The first waves of human-beast partnerships were just the beginning," Sarah said, watching as aurora-like quantum fields began to envelope the fleet. "Each new generation is born with stronger connections, greater abilities. We're becoming something entirely new, not just physically, but culturally and spiritually." Beyond the station, the ancients began generating the massive quantum corridor that would bridge the gap between galaxies. The combined consciousness of thousands of linked beings resonated through the network, excitement, determination, and wonder at what they might discover. They had moved beyond the old paradigms of predator and prey, of conqueror and conquered. The galaxy's most feared creatures had become its greatest teachers, showing humanity and the Vexcar a better path, one of mutual growth and endless possibility. As the fleet prepared to make history, James felt Thunder's consciousness merge more deeply with his own. Together, they sensed the quantum currents that flowed between stars, the delicate harmonies of spacetime that only the space-dwelling beings had truly understood, until now. The future stretched before them, infinite in its potential. Humanity had not only found its place among the stars, but had helped forge a new kind of civilization, one built on understanding rather than fear, cooperation rather than control, and the profound recognition that the greatest achievements come not from dominating other beings, but from learning to dance with them through the cosmic depths. And so, as the quantum corridor blazed to life and the fleet began its historic journey, they carried with them not just the hopes of their own species, but a living proof that the universe's most powerful force wasn't technology or evolution, or even the quantum fields that bound reality together. It was the simple choice to reach out with open hands instead of weapons, to seek understanding instead of dominance, and to recognize that every being, no matter how strange or fearsome, had something precious to teach.